Hello everyone, welcome back to the Nulyweds channel. So today we are speaking to Madeline from I Love You Madly, all about getting married in San Francisco or in America in general. It was a really interesting conversation, so I hope you stay tuned. As always, the links to get in touch with Madeline are going to be in the description box down below and pinned to the top comment. Without further ado, let's get into this conversation. So I'm joined here by the lovely Madeline from I Love You Madly. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. We're talking about weddings in San Francisco. But before we dive in, let us know a little bit about your business and why weddings, why you're a wedding planner, why do you love it?
Well, I've been doing all kinds of events for over 20 years. And after helping two very close friends with their wedding and then doing my own wedding in 2013, I decided that weddings would be a great spot for me. I am, come from a background of doing productions for children's figure skating shows and creating backgrounds and creating costuming and all of that good stuff. And, timelines were essential for all of those productions. And so it just kind of seemed like a natural space for me to graduate in and start my business. So that's what I did in 2019. I opened my own business and we were off and running, and then the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we just, kind of struggled on, and things have opened up quite a bit in California. Southern California is where I'm based, and I've done weddings all the way down into San Diego and San Francisco. So California, there's 6-7 hours in between the north and the south part of California. It's a really large state. So you have a lot of different places that you can go and get married, and a lot of beach area that you can get married, as well as going up into Yosemite and the beautiful mountains and being in Tahoe and snow skiing. And, in a day you can get from either place. So it's really nice.
Such a large scale, like that is huge.
Yeah.
I don't think you can, I think it would take about 6 hours to drive from the top to the bottom of Portugal alone, the whole country. So that scale is really, really quite impressive,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
But let's stick on that. Let's talk about why you would recommend a couple from outside of the US get married in California and San Francisco in particular.
Well, I think because in California, like I said, you have such a diverse, you have all these diverse attractions. So if you wanted to visit different areas and different places and different temperatures, from the beach to the mountains, you could actually do that. You could take the whole honeymoon aspect of it and take that into, being more of an adventure. And or if you're in San Francisco and you're getting married, what the great thing about San Francisco is that you're only an hour away from all of the vineyards. So you could actually go into the wine tasting area right after the wedding and make it your place, kind of home base, and then go out from there and do all kinds of really, really amazing things. Besides the fact that it's full of culture, it's full of things to do. There's never a block that doesn't have a fair or great restaurants, to choose from. I've never had a bad meal in San Francisco. They've all been amazing. So I think, just being able to just walk the area and go from place to place and just be open to, different cultures and different, just like if you were in Europe, more or less. And then the beauty of the place is just amazing. I mean, it just, the weather changes quite rapidly. It does, even if you're coming into the city in the summertime, it does get quite cold. So the fog moves in, but that's also what, the beauty of it. And it gives it just this beautiful display of colors and sky. And it's just really amazing. I think people are amazed when they come to San Francisco because they think of kind of a New York aspect or a large city type of thing. And it really is not like that. It's really more of, I keep referencing European, but it does remind me of very much of Europe.
Amazing. So those are the nice things about getting married in San Francisco. What are the not so nice things?
I think you're better off if you're going to get married in San Francisco. I think that you definitely want to plan ahead, way ahead, in reservations and things like that, because it does get booked up very quickly. It's not a place that you can come into and just say, oh, let's get married this weekend. You want to make reservations, and you probably want to hire someone that is familiar with the city and navigating and being able to get vendors and having all of these things in place and understanding how to navigate that. Because again, the driving aspect, you wouldn't want, as a bride, as a couple, you wouldn't want to try and navigate that yourself. The coordinators at most of the hotels are fabulous, and they have all kinds of information and resources for couples. um, I think that's it's not someplace where it's too much of a DIY. It's also, if you're coming into the city, parking is an issue. If you were to drive and try and navigate parking and the hotel, and you have guests coming in, that's all something that really needs to be planned out way in advance.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And thank you for your honesty there. We really do appreciate it. So let's come back to the weather, because you did mention that it just get a little bit cold and maybe a little bit autumnal towards the fall seasons. When would you recommend that people get married in San Francisco?
I love September, October, and that seems like it would not, go with the season, but it actually seems to get foggier and colder when you're hitting the spring in May, June, and sometimes even July. I just think it's more tempered to be able to get married and navigate through the weather in September. For us, we've always loved September, has been the go-to month for us.
Fabulous. No, that's great. And September is usually quite good in terms of the time frames for a lot of people as they're coming to a
Right,
destination wedding, in terms of like school times and things like that.
right,
September is quite an opportune moment to get married, so to speak. So I'm going to
right.
ask you a question that no one likes answering, I'm afraid. So let's say that today we have an Irish couple. We have an Irish couple. They're coming over to get married in San Francisco. They have 50 guests, and they're getting married in
Mhm.
September, let's say. Um, how much do you think that they should have as a starting point, like a rough budget?
For a budget, I would say, if you're going to include the travel, and a healthy budget would probably start at 75,000. Starting at 75,000, and to 100,000, I would say that's a very healthy budget, and it would probably, you could navigate a lot of things, being able to get your guests in place, being able to provide them with transportation. One of the things that's really nice is you can provide your guests with trolley tickets. You can buy those in advance, and they can actually have a ticket to jump on the cable car or trolley, for the entire stay that they're there. So they have a way to get around. And that's a really nice gift and a really nice way to let people see the city and do things on their own if they're not necessarily, with the couple the whole time.
Awesome. Okay, wonderful. No, that's a lovely idea. So let's stick with our Irish couple then. Let's say they want to do all of their paperwork and all of their registration in America as well. Is that a particularly easy process? Do you recommend it?
Um, the process has changed so much and it's continuing to change with getting vaccinated. I think a vaccinated is or a vaccination is the way to go. If they are not vaccinated, they would come in and they would get their information from San Francisco. It's actually San Francisco government, sfgov.org. You could go on there // marriage license, and you can get all the information there. The thing with getting a license here in California is it's a little bit tricky in that you have to get a license and it's only valid for so many days. So you come in and you get your license, then you want to plan it so that you're getting married within a week or two of the time that you are registering in San Francisco or in California to get your marriage license. Here in California, we have a lot of officiant. They actually have a company that has tons of officiants that they send out. And those people actually will navigate that process for you and help you through that process. So it's always good to reach out to an officiant in the area before you even get here, and they can help you navigate all of that. You would have to go to the courthouse. You would have to be in person. You have to bring your ID, whatever identification you come from the country, bring that with you, your passport. And the registration fee is about $200. So it's not a hard process. It's just a timing thing. So the timing has to be, within a certain range. So I definitely would reach out to an officiant to help you with that.
Okay, wonderful. No, that's great to know, and we'll leave a link to that the website that you mentioned in the description box down below. But let's move on to some venues now. We love talking about venues, so tell us about a couple of your favorite venues.
Okay, so one of my favorite venues, and I'm super familiar with it because we worked with it, is the Hotel Adagio. And it actually goes by Hotel Adagio Autograph Collection. It was an older hotel that they've turned into a boutique hotel. The reason I love this place is because it gives you the opportunity to have a veranda to get married on, to see the whole cityscape behind you. So it makes it's a beautiful place to get married. It is smaller. You're not going to be able to bring in, 150 guests. It's more 50 to 70 guests is probably the max I would do. But it also has its own parking right next to the hotel. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's got a little bit of a Moroccan feel to it. It's a historic landmark building. The whole upstairs is the bridal suite and the area where you would have your dinner, and has windows open, to the cityscape, like I said, and then the veranda is open. And I just love it. I just think it's just a beautiful place and a beautiful hotel, and it's just so convenient if you have people coming in and maybe you're coming from out of the country, but you have people here that are in California, and it's super easy to come into the hotel and just, pay the valet and park your car right next to the hotel. That's not something that a lot of places provide. So I really like that. The other place that I would probably recommend, the other place I would probably recommend is getting married at the city hall in San Francisco, which is probably one of the most beautiful buildings in San Francisco. City Hall is, it's a city hall, but when you think of a city hall, you kind of think of maybe a small place that, it's just conducts business, but this is just this beautiful, opulent, it has a staircase coming down, and they actually offer packages that start at $5,000 for 75 people, and they'll bring in the rentals and set that up for your ceremony. And I think it's so picturesque. It makes for some amazing photos, and the convenience of just having everything right there. Um, I would say that would be probably one of my first choices if you wanted to have a smaller wedding party and just have everything, kind of done for you. So yeah, and then of course, there's parks and the Golden Gate Park and the Palace of Fine Arts. I mean, these are places that you don't have to pay to go and just set up a ceremony, but you would have to plan very far in advance and be able to have rentals and, set that whole thing up with probably, I would definitely say get a planner at that point.
Absolutely. But that sounds so cool to be able to just set up in a park. That sounds really, really fabulous. I wonder if you can
Yeah.
get married in Hyde Park. That's interesting. I should find that out. But yeah, no, that sounds really, really cool, and a nice mix of different spaces there. So we'll leave the links down to those in the description box down below. But I want to thank you so much, Madeline, for coming on to the channel and talking to us about wonderful California. If people want to
Thank
get
you.
married in the US and in California, how can they get in contact with you?
You can reach me on my website. I love you, Madeline events, weddings and events, and it's with 2 Ds. You can also reach out at Maddie, Maddy, at iloveyoumadly.com. And I have pictures actually of San Diego and San Francisco on my website, so you can see both of those.
Wonderful. So we'll leave the links to those in the description box down to the pinned to the top comment and on the screen. I want to thank you again for coming onto the channel. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. And if anyone has any questions about getting married in California or anywhere else, then you can contact Madeline in the description box down below. So I'll love you and leave you for now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.